the premier sports talk radio. It's Tony's Takes.
Here we go.
Welcome back to another great episode of Tony's Takes live right here on YouTube. Not alone in the studio today. Of course, I'm joined by my co-host, Jimmy D, sitting right next to me. Hey, Jim Jam, how are you?
Hey, Tony, guess what?
What?
It's game day!
Big yell. This is the first ever Eagles game day preview right here on YouTube, right here on Tony's Takes. I know, you're thinking, Tony's Takes used to be a basketball show. You're right, it used to be a basketball show. It still kind of is, and we're going to talk about basketball because there's big news from St. Joseph's University today. Demir Bishop did get his eligibility back. I had been waiting very long for this. There were multiple news coming out for certain players across the A-10 getting eligibility, whether it be like UMass, VCU, all these other teams. And I was sitting there thinking, when is Demir Bishop going to get his eligibility back? Well, he got it back today for this season, so that's really exciting. But of course, as Jim noted, it's Eagles football tonight, probably the biggest thing going on television tonight, I would say so. And it's a big game because the Giants, I think, might win the division, and Jim's going to hate me when I do go off about that, but it's still going to be an exciting game. It's one of those great rivalries in sports. The Giants and the Eagles have had more memorable games in the past than the Cowboys-Eagles games have, that's for sure, and it's a division rival which, you know, the Eagles have beaten over the last 4 years, unlike the Cowboys, who beat the Eagles 3 out of the last 4 times, I believe. If I'm not correct on that, Jim, always be sure to butt in. But as you're joining us here on YouTube, please make sure to subscribe. We're up to 21 subscribers, and it means a lot to me that we had 21 people subscribe. I'm really glad that everyone took the time to do that. But if you're not subscribed, make sure to do that. And when you subscribe to Tony's Takes here on YouTube, double click the notification bell. That way you get notified every time we go live right here on Tony's Takes, 7 o'clock Thursdays, every Thursday. And if you do it, you get notified. You never miss a show. So that's always big news. Jim, let's start with the Demir Bishop thing. I know we're going to get into the Eagles. Don't worry, but I just want to say this real quick. Not to get it out of the way, but just to say something about A-10 basketball and kind of get people hyped, because as baseball's about to end, professional basketball has ended, and the only sport left right now is football, professional football. College basketball is coming back sooner than we think. The leagues, right? The multiple leagues, multiple divisions or conferences is the better word for it, are coming back to play in the very, very near future. I think it's the end of November, beginning of December. College basketball is going to be back, and it's really going to be in the full swing when the conference schedule starts Jan 1 of 2021. This news for St. Joe's brings me a lot of joy because now I have another team where I was going to watch St. Joe's anyway, but now I have a team where I'm looking at Demir Bishop playing. I'm looking at Ryan Daly coming back. There are these pieces for St. Joe's that are coming together. It's Billy Lang's second year. And if you're missing a sport, right, you realize that there's just going to be less options because all these other sports rush to get it done by now, October. Please tune into St. Joe's basketball. I think they're going to be pretty good this year. I think they're going to be competitive in the A-10. They're going to be a 500 team. A lot of people in the A-10, a lot of the Twitter people on Twitter for the Atlantic 10, a lot of the writers at A-10 Talk, where I personally write as well, they don't have St. Joe's as high as I do. Now, maybe it's because I'm a homer. Maybe it's because I'm a super fan of this team. But with Demir Bishop coming back, with all these new recruits coming into St. Joe's, with Ryan Daly returning, and with guys like Ramir Moore, who plays to a certain level that I'm very comfortable with and am a big fan of. There's just all these great pieces, and I think the team's going to come together. It's really going to gel. Billy Lang's going to find his mojo this year from a coaching standpoint, from a how do I get guys to do what I want them to do? How do I get players to fulfill the schemes I'm writing down on a chalkboard to put out on the court? I think this is the year where we finally start to see things gel together and we start to see less of the, oh, it's just year one. Oh, they lose to LaSalle like they did last year off a crazy double doink off the rim. No big deal. No. I don't think that's going to happen for St. Joe's anymore. I don't think we're going to see those, oh, it's year one excuses anymore. I think Billy Lang's going to show up to what we expect. He's going to show up every week. He's going to play games hard, and he's going to bring us a somewhat competitive team in the A10. Not going to win the A10 this year. That's still 2 years down the road, maybe a year down the road. Maybe that's a 2022 goal. But for this year going into 2021, the goal for St. Joe's is be competitive and show the flash that these star players that Billy Lang was able to recruit, show the flash they have, show the athleticism they have, show the pizzazz. I haven't seen a St. Joe's guy do a reverse double clutch dunk since that famous basketball player named DeAndre Bembry. I want to see more of that, and I think Billy Lang's brought in the guys that can do it.
Hey, Tony, as a St. Joe's fan, and that's my alma mater as well, but just as a fan in general, we want to see this team not only be competitive through the year, but actually be competitive in the tournament, right? The A10 tournament was really all that we cared about when it came down to it. So I guess what's your outlook on the tournament in the future? How are we going to fare against certain teams? The teams that always come to mind are like Rhode Island, and then you have the Philadelphia rivalry in LaSalle. Like, how are we going to compare against those teams that we typically see? I don't see us fighting against Dayton too hard because historically they've been really good. So what's the outlook on that postseason looking like?
The postseason, I couldn't even tell you because last year we didn't even get one, right? It was cut off. And St. Joe's this year, look, I expect them to win at least one game. That's for sure, right? If they were it also depends on seeding. Remember, lower seeded teams don't get to play, the first game, which is like 14 versus 15. With that said, if St. Joe's is a 7 seed, then they got to play the 5. That's going to be a tough game. If it's that proposition, it can happen. We can win a game. We can steal one for sure. I don't see this team going past one game in the round, unless they're 14th in the league. Then they got to play the 15th or the 16th, not the 16th. They got to play the 14th or the 12th rated team. Then I see them beating that 12th rated team and then moving on and then maybe losing or sneaking a game in. I think one win right now is the goal for St. Joe's, but anything is possible in tournament basketball, right? Anything is possible. If you're a 7 seed, you can easily find yourself in the semifinals. So that's my outlook on them.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to watching this season if it happens the way that we expect it to happen.
It's going to be a good year. For all those tuning in to Tony's Takes, thanks for joining us. We're just talking a little about St. Joe's basketball. Wanted to get that not out of the way, but I wanted to talk about it right away before we get into the meat of today's episode, which is the Eagles. The Eagles could take up 25 minutes of our night tonight, I would say. It's going to be a big game. We got tons of clips lined up for you. We've got Deshaun Jackson news. We've got what's his name? Doug Peterson? Yeah, what's his name? Doug Peterson. We're going to talk about him as well. But if you're live in the chat, don't forget we read the chat during the show, and I wanted to read a little bit of what people have been saying. Stephen Daniels goes, no way the Giants win the division. You thought that, Stephen. You think there was no way they can win it. But there's a way. There's a will. There's a way. Jim, I showed you that article from ESPN. A team can win 4 to 6 games this season and still win the division.
Yeah, Tony, I got to say something, man. I came in here, it's Eagles on a Thursday night. I'm all happy. I come in here, I make a big yell. It's game day. And you, like 30 seconds later, say the Giants could win? You think the Giants are going to win the division? Oh my gosh, how could you do that? You're breaking my heart here.
Tommy Higley goes, will we get debate preview? The only debate you need to listen to is the one between me and Jim as we debate Eagles v. Giants. Real Situation goes, I hate Jimmy's World Series prediction has come true. And then Tommy Higley goes, Langang, is it time for the Patriots to hit the panic button? It might be. Also, St. Joe's a top 7 team in the A10. I just said, Sean P. I just said St. Joe's at 7. I can see them at 7 in the tournament. Easily can see it. Let's go into the Eagles, Jim. I want to play this. This is one of my best clips I've ever seen. This is, I don't even think it needs introduction. Here we go.
In 6 minutes and 14 seconds, 3 touchdowns put up by the Eagles. And it's a line drive kick. Jackson bobbles it and now has to try and recover. Deshaun Jackson gets a block. Are you kidding? Deshaun Jackson still not in, and now in for the touchdown, no flags. Unbelievable.
Now, do we get that Deshaun Jackson tonight?
We are getting that Deshaun Jackson tonight.
Because
it's happening.
Rumor is he's playing tonight, and that's where I want to start. I want to start on Doug Peterson's words about Deshaun Jackson. Here we go. He fought with the reporter when he was talking about it.
What do you suggest, that he's going to play ahead of? No, I mean,
Stop it. Just stop it right there. The reporter asks him one question: is Deshaun Jackson going to start? And that's the response we get from Doug. What? Okay, I'm gonna keep playing it.
Fulgham's obviously a guy that's produced here of these last 3 games. He's a younger guy. Well, someone like Deshaun, who is older, has been hurt a lot. Will he play as much or more than Fulgham?
I mean, Deshaun will have just as many plays, if not obviously with the game plan. So again, it's a lot like the offensive line position. Not necessarily going to reveal who's playing and how much at this time.
Wow.
That's a resounding no.
What a dodge.
That's a no. Here's the thing. Doug knows just as much as we all do that Deshaun Jackson is older. He's not going to play as many plays as a younger Travis Fulgham. It's not happening. So don't expect Deshaun Jackson to make 1 million plays tonight. He's going to have probably 3 catches, probably for 90 yards. That's my prediction.
90?
Yeah. Well, he's going to have the deep ball. That'll be like 60 yards, and then he'll have 2 catches. That'll make up the other 30.
I will say this: Carson Wentz's deep ball has looked a lot better over the last 3 games.
The Fulgham
catch, he threw it off his back leg for the touchdown to Fulgham last week. That was a really good play. I would say throwing off your back foot's not the best look in the world, but the connection between the two it clearly is there. That's why I think the reporter. I like the reporter asking that question, right? We want to know, because I think Eagles fans want to see Fulgham get more touches because the connection's just better and the durability's there, right? If I'm going to throw to Deshaun Jackson 5 to 10 times in a game, he's going to get banged up a lot more, and he's already injury prone. So there was a legit reason for asking that question. For Doug to completely dodge it's very questionable to me. Whose ego are you protecting? Deshaun Jackson hasn't played for us in the last 2 years at all. Sat out all last year. He's already sitting half of the year out now. We owe this guy nothing. We don't owe him he hasn't won a Super Bowl. He wasn't here for a Super Bowl. He bailed on us. We owe him no courtesy because he's a veteran. This is a league where production matters, and we give the guy with the hot hand favorability, and I don't protect egos in Philadelphia. That's not how Philadelphia does it.
And let's face it, he just came off of an injury. They're not going to overplay him in the first night. It's just, don't expect that to happen. He's going to, like I said, he's going to be there for probably 3 receptions. And, if I'm wrong with 90 yards, maybe it's 60. Who knows? Let me just bring out a couple stats for this pregame. We got the Eagles versus the Giants review. Let's see just like the last 5 to 10 years and historical. Mm-hmm. So historically, they're 87, 85, and 2 against the Giants. So it's actually pretty even. And considering how good the Giants have been in the past, it's surprising that the Eagles are actually winning. The last 5
given
years,
the history of the Giants,
exactly.
Pretty good franchise.
The last 5 years, from 2015 to 2019, the Eagles have been 9-1 against the Giants. Last 10 years, we've been 16-4. And then I just want to say the Eagles are rocking the black jerseys tonight, so I'm rocking my black Fletcher Cox jersey shirt because the Eagles are 5-0 against the Giants in all black.
That is a certified win, right? If they wear the black jerseys, it's a certified win. It's the Eagles' best uniform by far.
If it's a loss, it's an outlier.
Yeah, 100%. Did they wear black in the Super Bowl? No, divisional game. I remember that. I don't know why I do, but I do. Let's go to, I like the division matchup. This is Carson Wentz talking about the division matchup against the Giants.
Yeah, I mean, we know where the division's at. We know it's wide open still, and we know we didn't start, and we don't have the record that we were hoping for or, counting on. But we know that this is a divisional game, and divisional games always have a little bit more on the line, not just because there's a little extra rivalry there, but because we know what's at stake, and we know the division is up for grabs for everybody. So we know what's riding on this one, and we're excited for it.
Keyword is everyone on that one. Everyone, including the New York Giants.
Okay, Tony, let's relax. We all know the Eagles are the best looking team in the NFC East. I know there's not much there that looks good, but they are the best looking of the rest.
Okay. I want to get to a legit argument. I want to come out and say I want to defend Carson Wentz. Jim, you and I went on the show 3 weeks ago, said the sky is falling. Carson Wentz, he's a bum. My grandmother was telling me that Carson Wentz was a bum. Everyone in the city of Philadelphia was saying Carson Wentz was a bum, and I told you that story about me at work saying Carson Wentz is a bum in the weekly spotlight, and then the Eagles won the day that they published that against the Giants. I mean, not the Giants, the 49ers. But Carson Wentz, I mean, to come back to the Ravens down 24 points, to come back on the Ravens on a roster where no one was around to help him, no wide receivers, no linemen. The tight end was injured, and Ertz was injured, and Lane Johnson was injured, and Sanders was injured as well. All these guys were injured, and yet he brought them within striking distance to the Ravens, and this team didn't do the 2-point conversion. You can blame Doug Peterson. I think it was very foolish for the Eagles to go for 2 5 times in one game. It's okay to kick the ball, because if they had kicked it originally, they still would have been able to win the game. And that field goal gets missed. There was all these opportunities where you didn't have to go for 2 every time, because if you go for 2 4 times in a game and you miss all 4, that's 4 points you're giving up. The analytics can't back up giving away more than a field goal in extra point attempts, especially when you're trying to crawl back on a team. But I want to go to, this is Colin Cowherd talking about Carson Wentz, and what he says in this is really why I was impressed with Carson Wentz and what he's been able to do in the last 2 weeks for the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, I mean, it's...
wrong
Tuesday.
clip.
Stop,
turn that off. Turn those lights off. I don't know why that happened. That was not Colin Cowherd talking about Carson Wentz. This should be correct.
His record won't show it. His
There we
stats
go.
won't show it. He was unbelievable yesterday. He's the anti-Aaron Rodgers. He's all guts. He's all fight. So he was missing his 3 best receivers yesterday and his best offensive lineman. They got down big to Baltimore. Baltimore was heavily favored. Baltimore was rolling them. He then loses his best tight end, Zach Ertz, and his best running back, Miles Sanders. And they come back, and they fight. And if not for a lousy 2-point call by Doug Peterson, they maybe tie the football game. Eagle receive. It could have been, they should have won by a touchdown. Eagle receivers were dropping touchdowns. They were dropping open stuff in the flat. He had nothing to work with. Nothing. We think Tom Brady this year has had a few injuries. I'm literally looking at their depth chart this year. It's insane. 17. I don't even know what goes on in Philadelphia. The water, what is it?
I wouldn't drink the water in Philadelphia.
I wouldn't either, especially as somebody that works for a utility company.
We won't name anything, Jim. Don't worry. We'll keep your anonymity. But I think Cowherd hits it right on the head. Now, look, do you play your rival punditry on your show? No, you usually don't. Unless it's outlandish like Stephen A. Smith. But Colin Cowherd, he's hitting it right on the head. And I was quick to judge Carson Wentz. Even though I've always said Carson Wentz was the pick to have out of the Carson Wentz versus Nick Foles argument. And Jim was yelling at me at my top 5 for the league for not including Nick Foles in it. But we'll get to that later. Carson Wentz has done what I think is the impossible. And that is to keep this team within a divisional game or striking distance of the division 5 games into the season. That is not easy to do. He's already being dogged all the time for not being the quarterback who wins a Super Bowl. It's easy to turn on 94.1 WIP and to hear guys trashing you and doing the Monday morning quarterback routine. It's easy to do that. But when you can go cross country and win in San Francisco, when you can keep the Ravens, who are a top 5 team, within your circle of scoring with 4 minutes to go, and if you can come back on the Steelers, another top 5 team, they played the Steelers and the Ravens. Those 2 teams are the top 5 teams in the league technically right now. They've got the hardest part of the schedule over with in theory. Now it's all divisional. Most of the rest of the games are divisional games. All of a sudden you can look around and the Eagles, who are at what, 1-4-1, Jim?
Yep.
All of a sudden you can look at them and go, oh, this team is 6-4-1. Easily can look and go, this team is 6-4-1.
They really got to get their act together if they want to be 6-4-1, though.
You got to execute. That's the thing, though. I've seen Carson Wentz. I believe he can do it, but you can't leave guys. You can't not leave guys. He's not the one leaving anyone. You can't have guys dropping passes. You can't have the running back getting injured, right? Lane Johnson gets injured. That's fine. Not fine, but I can live with that because I think Carson Wentz has the athleticism to make up for a bad offensive line, kind of like Russell Wilson can. Not as athletic as Russell Wilson, but he has some form of athleticism where he's not just standing there in the pocket. But you need to have some help, and they didn't get Le'Veon Bell. And the only other team that has trade options open right now are the Minnesota Vikings, who look to be on a yard sale soon. And I don't know if you can get Adam Thielen. I don't think that's possible. I wish you could. That would solve a lot of issues for the Eagles. But there's going to be some teams willing to give players up. Trading has become much bigger in the NFL. And as I said with the Eagles, there's a couple crossroads the Eagles are at. And tonight's going to be one of them. Do you win a divisional game for the first time and take command of the division? That's step one. If you win tonight, you now need to make a decision. Are we getting rid of Ertz? Because I was right last week. He's injured now. Now you really can't get rid of him.
Nope.
Can't get rid of him. Now you're stuck with two tight ends, and you're going to let one walk with no value. All of a sudden, Tony looks right on that. So that's a crossroad. And you missed it, Philadelphia Eagles. You missed the crossroad, but that's fine. I forgive and I forget. Probably too easily. So this is my new crossroads to you. And hopefully Howie Roseman's listening, because I think he loves this show. You need to decide, are we going to trade for someone and win now? Is it worth getting Carson Wentz another year of playoff experience? Because when we make a Super Bowl run in, I think, 2 years, we need to have Carson with more playoff experience than he has now. Because he's only have one game. He has one playoff game.
And he didn't even make it through that game. If you think that's a tangible asset to your quarterback and you think you're going to stick with him for the long term, then you need to make a trade somehow. And I said Zach Ertz was the trade. You didn't listen to me. Okay, there's still room, still time to trade for someone or some position that is going to help you win in the long term. I can't tell you. It could be any position. There's multiple positions the team needs to fill. But you got to do some improvement. Got to do a little bit of improvement just to seal up the division. Because the Cowboys don't look that good. Giants don't look like that good. And Washington, I think, is the biggest threat to win the division. Because I think the Cowboys are done. Signed, sealed, delivered. They're done. So you need to find a player who's going to help elevate you as a team. You need to win the game tonight. And you need to say to us in Philadelphia and go, yes, it was worth it. It's worth going to the playoffs. And the trade-off of a better position in the draft is worth it in the long run because our quarterback has that much more experience, and he's the one who's going to give Philadelphia a second Super Bowl. So, Tony, let's touch on that trade for a second. One of the names that keeps coming up is John Ross with the Bengals. What do you think about him? I think he would be a good wide receiver option for Wentz, especially.
I don't need a world beater.
Yeah, no.
I need a guy who can get things done.
And you've seen him. He's been productive in the past. I think that he would be a good option. Now, am I going to trade Ertz for John Ross? No way. There's going to have to be something else that comes along with it.
Ertz is worth a good lineman.
Yeah, but then also you got to think this is another player that his contract ends this year.
It's a shame. I don't mean to interrupt you.
No, no worries.
I just thought of a trade in my mind. Someone like Zach Martin. Now, Zach Martin's injured. He's getting a little older, but the Cowboys need a tight end. That's well known. But you don't trade within division, so it's unfortunate.
Yeah, that's tough. You can't.
You can't trade in division. Yeah. I know you can't, but that's that popped into my mind. I'm like, that's the kind of trade. If it's not that trade, it's a trade like that. We're getting a lineman and we're giving up Ertz because that's what you need.
Right.
But continue. I don't mean to.
All right, now I want to go back to the Wentz talk because there's been some flack going on just across media with Wentz. There's been a lot of people calling him out, saying that this whole bad start is basically on his shoulders. I think that's a little unwarranted. We definitely saw him put the team on his back last week against the Ravens. Well, 4 days ago against the Ravens. Only him and Kelsey were starters by the end of the game, and all that. He went for that long run because the O-line was just letting people by. We saw Wentz actually flourish last week, but at the same time, there's something that Max Kellerman had said, and it sticks in my head every single day since I've heard it, and that's that Wentz has only one great throw per game, 2 or 3 good throws, and then misses.
What was last week's great throw?
Well, the great throw. There was actually, in my opinion, I thought that there was a lot of good to great throws.
Okay.
But for instance, like the 49ers game, there was a great throw to Travis Fulgham, right? That's the one that sticks out in my head. But you can see this sort of pattern, and it kind of, take the Ravens game aside, it kind of does make a lot of sense that he feels that way. Again, Max Kellerman is a biased New York Giants loving, reporter.
Yeah.
So it's not.
That's how he made his bones. Like, don't.
Yeah.
I'm not going to question that.
But at the same time, I do want to see Wentz make great throws, multiple great throws in one game. And I think that tonight could be that night. You have Deshaun Jackson back. You have Fulgham, who's been playing red hot. And, unfortunately, we lost Miles Sanders, who should have had a touchdown last week. But maybe you'll see Boston Scott playing sort of how Sproles used to play back in the day.
Sproles and Foles.
Sproles is like the same exact size that Boston Scott is. So you'll see
bouncing off defenders.
You see Boston Scott come out in the flat, and
Yeah.
I really do think that he's going to catch a lot of balls tonight. So hopefully we can see some good throws from Wentz on that angle.
Sarah Cosenza goes, black jerseys are the best. I agree with that, and I think Jimmy agrees with that. Evan Guerin goes, Philly water is clean and good. I don't know about that. He goes, Jimmy D and I have seen the water treatment process. Is that true? You and Evan?
Yes, I have seen the Philly water treatment process, and I've also seen the New Jersey water treatment process.
Stephen Daniels goes, water is no good in overbooked section. Receivers need to catch. Evan Guerin then goes, Eagles will win the division in 5-3-2. Scratch that, 6-8-2. And Lay's music in the chat, folks.
Laced in the chat.
Laced is in the chat. Sponsor of the show. Check his music out. Best artist I've ever known. Laced goes, I love bias. Which I think he loves Eagles bias. Because Laced is an Eagles fan. For those who didn't know about your favorite musician, Laced is in fact an Eagles fan.
Real quick, favorite Lay's song, Dangerous. Very good.
Sky is always number one in my list because Sky's the intro to this great show. And if you listen to this great show, what a transition, make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube. Double click the notification bell. That way you get notified every time we go live right here on the best show in Sports Talk Radio. How about that for a rhyme scheme?
Amazing.
That was iambic pentameter. I'm trying to look at some of the clips. We talked about Colin Cowherd. We heard Wentz. I want to hear Wentz on a short week of play because we talked about how this team's injury prone. And this was actually a point to the Giants game. We're previewing the Giants game. This first Eagles preview show for Tony's Takes because we go live on Thursdays. And this is the first Eagles Thursday night game. But here's the thing. Short week. Team's injured. Wentz is an injured prone quarterback. How's he going to do on a short week of play? Let's hear him say it.
Yeah, it's still Tuesday. At the end of the day, it's still Tuesday. We just played.
It's Thursday today.
Quick turnaround. Trying to convince my body that it's Friday. I think that's the challenge for everybody on these short weeks. You play a lot of snaps in a game and got to turn around on a Thursday night. It can be a challenge. But that's a big point of emphasis is finding a way to maximize your recovery to get back out there on Thursday. And for me, I'm doing fine. I'll be just fine come Thursday night. I'll take care of myself, and we'll be fine.
I like the confidence. Injuries are very scary to me, especially with this Eagles team because we've gone into it for many times now. Jim, what were your thoughts on that?
I just think that you have to come ready to play, right? It doesn't matter what day of the week it is, and I always commend Carson on his confidence in his teams, and he always kind of perpetuates that next man up mentality. So I think that his confidence in his teammates and the quick turnaround, I think that they'll offset each other, and I think you'll be able to see some good football tonight for sure. Definitely from Carson, he'll lead his team. And I think he's a proven leader at this point. Year 5, that's definitely who he is.
Let's talk about our fearless leader, Doug Peterson. Talk about Giants matchup. Final clip.
Obviously, there was a lot in that question, but first of all, I appreciate the confidence that you have in us. And secondly, listen, we know our division is down, and maybe it is up for grabs. All I know is we're gonna focus on 1 week at a time, and I think that's all I can ask of our players. This is a short week. The New York Giants coming to town is a good football team. I know their record doesn't show it either, but these guys are good on defense. They're good on offense. And
Stop it. Let's play it back one more time because I think I'm right. The Giants are going to win the division.
Doesn't show it either. But these guys are good on defense. They're good on offense, and got really good special teams. So we have to be prepared to win this game. Come Thursday and play hard.
Now I think it's common for coaches to hype up the team they're going to play. But I like Doug's opinion. I do think the Giants have good offense. I do think the Giants have great defense. And I think the Giants have great special teams.
I think the Giants have really good defense. That's the one thing that I keep looking at.
So that scares you going forward?
That does scare me. They held the Steelers to 26. We let up 38 to them. They held the Bears to 17. The Bears are no joke in my opinion.
Yeah, but the Bears don't have an offense.
They do. But
yeah,
we
by
can talk
running
about that.
the ball.
We'll
talk about it when we after I make our picks.
The LA Rams, 17 points they only let up. And the worst game that they had was the Cowboys. And that's just a division game, and that's 37 points. But that happens in division games. You never know what's going to happen. So same thing you could say tonight is it's a division game, and you never know if the defense is going to let up. But I think that defense is going to hold strong against us.
Stephen from Simmerdale goes, sounds like Doug loves them. I think he does. Let's go to our picks of the week. It's 7:30, and that's when we usually do it. Jim, you want to give us the records for today, and we'll go over the spread, which is from FanDuel this week.
All right, sure. Yeah, that's a sponsor of the show, right?
I wish.
Okay, so 8-3-1 myself. Tony is 6-5-1. We had that push earlier where we tied the total.
That is correct. Pushes get counted as ties, and we each have a tie like the Eagles do.
Perfect. So the spread, we're looking at the Giants +4, the Eagles -4, and then the total is 43.5. So Tony, I don't know if you want to give your picks first this week.
I'll go first this week because I let you go first the last 2 weeks. Okay. I have the Giants covering the spread. It's going to be a close game. The Giants don't have to travel too far. Division games are always close games. And I don't think the Eagles are good enough to win by more than a field goal. I think it's going to be a really close game. And the fact that the Eagles were in 3 with the Ravens, going with the Giants. The Giants played Washington tough. They only beat them by a point. I think the same thing's happening with the Eagles. I think the Eagles win, but I think it's going to be a close game still. Now, for the over, which is at 43.5. I have said multiple times, the over keeps hitting. It is a record year for the over, and I've been burned by picking the under too many times this year. So I will pick the over again because it served me well last week, and I got a win. I was 1-1. I'm taking the over again, and I won't take the under until the over fails me and until the league starts flipping back to more unders and corrects itself, or Vegas corrects it. But 43.5, I see this game being 24-21. That gets me over. And I think that's right the money spot. The Giants scored 19 last week. They can get to 21 because the Eagles' defense is not as good as Washington's.
Tony, we're so similar, but we come to just
the wrong conclusions.
The littlest difference in conclusion. I do think this is going to be a really close game, but this is at the Link. With
fans?
This is a Thursday night with fans. You got the blackout jerseys. So I'm thinking this game is 25-20 with the Birds. And you're going to look at the Birds -4. I'm going to take the Eagles -4. And I'm going to take the over by 1.5. I do think it's going to be a really close game, like you said. But I just think the Eagles are going to be that much better. So 25-20 is what I'm going with.
See, this is the thing, Jim. I can see it being 24-20. But the Giants get the spread then. 25 is a hard point to get to. Hard to get to 25 points.
I know, but with how much Doug goes for 2, it just seems like it could happen.
I forgot about that. Very true. Everyone, give us your takes in the chat. If you think the Eagles are going to win, say it. If you think the Giants are going to win, say it. Stephen Daniel goes, boo, Tony. What? I'm saying the Eagles are going to win. What's the problem? Okay. Let's go to my power rankings now. This is for the NFL. This is post Sunday. After last Sunday's game, I come up with my new power rankings. Last week, I don't even have the power rankings from last week in front of me, but I'm going to say the 5 for this week, and I'm going to say the 2 that were swapped in and the 2 that were swapped out. Because we have a pretty constant top 5 right now, because I think the teams have proven themselves. Number one this week for me, Chiefs. Chiefs. They proved they could bounce back, and they won in Buffalo, cold rain, with the run. They look like the most well-balanced team. They still have Le'Veon Bell. Their defense is really good. I like the Chiefs. They're number one. Number two, Titans. Whew! The Titans. Who would have thought? They are legit. Ryan Tannehill's the best quarterback in football for the last 2 seasons statistically. There is no one more consistent or better than Ryan Tannehill right now. And that's because he has the best running back in all of football. I don't even know if there's anyone better than why am I blanking? Derrick Henry. I don't think there is anyone better than Derrick Henry.
He's amazing. He's an anomaly about his size as a running back.
Unbelievable.
It's great.
I only think the only person I could think that would be scarier as a running back is like Zion Williamson.
Yeah.
Like, honestly. Okay. Oh, you're throwing in the last week. Oh, perfect. Okay, let me say last week's. I know we're bouncing around, but Jim just threw that in. Thank you, Jim. Number one, last week I had Green Bay, Chiefs, Seahawks, Ravens, Bills. That was my ranking. This week, I said I have Chiefs, Titans. So the Titans crawled up into my top 5. They skyrocketed up to number 2 from number 6. Seahawks at 3. They stay where they're at. Steelers at 4. They moved on up because I think they were pretty impressive because they whopped the Browns. Like, they just knocked them out. Love seeing that. And I think they could beat the Ravens. That's why I have them up in the top 5. And the Ravens have fallen out because Tampa moved up. Yes, they lost to the Bears. Yes, the Bears are not in my top 5. But Tampa beating my number 1 from last week, that gets you in the top 5. I'm sorry, but it does. Aaron Rodgers was looking like the best quarterback in football. Now he doesn't even look like an MVP because Tampa made him throw 2 interceptions after he hadn't thrown an interception all year long. Chiefs, Titans, Seahawks, Steelers, Tampa. Titans and Steelers. Titans, Steelers, and Tampa all moving on up. Ravens fall. Too close of a game to the Eagles. Bills fall. You lose to the Chiefs. You fall out of it. Green Bay falls. Tampa beat you. That gets you into my top 5. What do you think?
You gotta have the Bears in there.
No!
You gotta. Where are they at?
No.
Nicky Six, Nicky franchise.
The Bears are overrated and don't have a good quarterback. This is a QB league. Don't see them playing a Super Bowl anywhere north of Florida right now, right? They all play in Florida and Arizona. So it's a QB league, and great QBs get to play in warm, sunny Florida. The Bears like to play good defense. They run the ball a lot. Nick Foles is okay, but he's not as good as when he was in Philadelphia. Their special teams are pretty good, but last time I checked, it's not going to be 32 degrees and snowing in Florida come Super Bowl time. QB league, you got to be able to sling the ball, and if the Bears ever face the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, the Chiefs would shut down Nick Foles like there was no tomorrow. They proved that they can stop the run in a rainy weather against the Bills, and Patrick Mahomes, ain't no stopping that boy. He is good.
No, I'm not saying that the Bears are going to win the Super Bowl. But I do think that they're a top 5 team right now until they're misplaced.
They are not above Tampa. Tampa has a better shot at winning the Super Bowl than the Bears do. That's a fact.
Tampa started slow for me. I don't know. I'm not on the Tampa train just yet.
Steven Daniels goes, did you guys hear Sixers hired Jameer Nelson, SJU alum? Yes, we did know that. We have it in the write-up, right, Jim?
Oh, yeah.
We didn't forget about it.
We're going to talk about that. That was a big topic for me.
We're talking about that. Let's go into the World Series talk, right? We've previewed the Eagles. Me and Jim both think the Eagles are going to win. I think we say that every week. We took our spread picks. We took our over-under picks. Really excited. Preview of the Eagles game. We spent 30 minutes talking about the Eagles. When is 94.1 WIP going to hire us?
Hopefully next
we're better
week.
Than Joe Ritchie.
Oh, come on.
Okay, let's go in the World Series. Everything I touch turns to crap when it comes to baseball. Everything. And the Braves are just another victim of my fandom. Jim called me out last week. I was a fan of the Braves. He called me out. And it hurts when the Braves don't even win. They don't even got my back. I picked them, and they don't even have my back. Conversely, Jim's looking pretty good. He called the division winners and the pennant winner. Pennant winners, right? They're winning the pennants for the ALS and the NLS. But the Braves broke my heart. I didn't pick any of them right. As Graham Bly said in the chat, Jimmy's picks are coming to fruition. And Jim, who'd you pick to win the World Series?
I picked the Dodgers.
Now, who knows if that's going to happen, but after what you saw Kershaw do, I gave Kershaw a lot of credit. Played really well, won them game 1, set the tone. Snell, Tampa Bay pitcher for last night was really good. He kept them in the game. Bullpen was able to barely beat the Dodgers. It's 1-1. But tell me why Kershaw isn't as bad as we think he is. Because when I say, oh, Kershaw had a good game, this goes against I put in the script, goes against the norm of Clayton Kershaw, you go, wait, this isn't the norm.
No, this isn't the norm. And here's the big thing. He has had, at times, some games that didn't go so great for him in the playoffs. And then at other times, he had some games that have went really, really well for him in the playoffs. I'm talking 8 innings, no runs, and like 10 strikeout games in the playoffs. So this whole idea, I guess what I really am against is that Kershaw is not clutch in the playoffs. It's fake news, Tony. And I get really upset about that. And I think that, there isn't just one explanation for the times that he has let up like home runs or anything. And yes, his ERA is higher in the postseason than it is in the regular season. But last time I checked, most pitchers' ERAs are higher in the postseason than they are in the regular season. That's just what happens.
Sample size is too small.
Yeah, well, he does have, at this point, he's accumulated enough innings for an entire season of postseason play.
162 of postseason play.
Exactly. So I guess my big thing is you can't just rely on the ERA all the time. He has been clutch at times, and that first game really shows he had a great game. They kept his pitch count down. So you might be able to even see Kershaw come back in the fourth game. And we're not even this isn't even young Kershaw anymore. He has changed as a pitcher. He doesn't throw his fastball as much. Yeah. And he's conserving himself for Game 4 and possibly even Game 7. So expect to see Kershaw play big in this one. I think he's going to finally get his ring.
Lazed goes, yo, what? The Eagles game is on Amazon Prime. Yes, they play Thursday night games on Amazon Prime, and they play it on NFL Network. I don't think Fox has the game tonight.
Oh,
Everyone make sure they go out and buy their package. I thought it was Fox too. Can you check that, Jim, for our viewers? I want to make sure that they have access to the Philadelphia Eagles.
I'll get the intern on
if they live in the local market.
Yeah, it looks like Fox.
Okay, Lays, don't worry, it's on Fox. There you go. I want to talk about why I like this matchup so much for Tampa. Tampa is a good defense. I love defense. But who doesn't love offense more? And that's what the Dodgers bring. Tampa is small money, and the Dodgers are big money. And I really want Tampa to win because of it. I can't stand Los Angeles. I watched this show, $1 Million Listings Los Angeles. I can't stand Los Angeles. Those people are so fake. I don't like it. I like gritty Tampa. Number 1 in gentlemen's clubs in the country.
Oh.
That's gritty. Don't give me glamorous LA. Give me I'm the salt of the earth.
They don't have Magic City.
No, there you go.
Poor Braves.
Yeah, that's Atlanta.
Yeah.
I like down-to-earth people, and I like Tampa because they're down-to-earth people. They're not superficial like Los Angeles can be. And sure, Los Angeles gets a bad rap sometimes, but that's how I view it. And I'm from Philadelphia. A lot of Philly transplants go down to Tampa. But I love defensive games, and I love teams that win without paying a lot of money. When the Eagles won the Super Bowl, it wasn't because they paid the most amount of players. It's because they drafted a really good team, and they took a risk and played well with guys who you didn't think were going to be that good. They traded for some players, yes. But it was a team where, Jason Peters hadn't had his big money payout yet. None of these guys had big money payouts yet. They had to prove themselves. They weren't like, I don't know, name a team at the time that was favored to win and pay a lot of money notoriously for their players. Oh, wait, that's right, the Dallas Cowboys. They pay the wrong guys the wrong type of money every year. They play for the glamour players, and it never turns out well for them because it turns out a good line, a good running back, and a quarterback that can get the job done is all you need in the NFL. And in the MLB, turns out all you need is to pay. Not even pay. You need to scout and find the best pitchers possible. You don't pay to have every other player under the sun come to your team. However, I will give the Dodgers this. They found good players this year, or the last year, right? Cody Bellinger is a guy that they brought up through their own organization, right, Jim? I don't think they
believe
bought
so,
him.
yeah.
They didn't pay for him to come from another team. So the Dodgers are able to find people. And then this year, instead of paying to have, a bunch of mediocre guys, they scouted, they did the right moves, and then when they paid a player, they made sure to pay the best player in baseball in Mookie Betts, probably. Or at least not better than Mike Trout. Yeah, I know, people in the chat agree, Mike Trout's better. But Mookie Betts has won, and he's led a team to a World Series title. And sure, that team cheated, but they still won.
Mike Trout might be a better player, but Mookie Betts is probably one of the most talented players I've ever seen.
He's robbed home runs. They keep robbing home runs. Tell me, one home run being robbed in the World Series was worth all the money in the world to pay that guy.
Definitely, and you get it. You're getting it not only in right field from Mookie Betts, but you're getting it in center from Cody Bellinger, like you were vouching for. So, Tony, I just want to say, you like Tampa because they're gritty. Well, I like teams that have diehard fans. That's what I am. That's what I've always been. I've been a diehard Eagles fan. I've been a diehard Phillies fan.
Okay.
LA has fans that are diehard across the country. It's not just LA. Tampa has some of the worst fans. They don't even have fans. I think most of their fans are outside of Florida. So, you texted me the other night with the first game.
I texted, the first game of the series was the worst rated game since the Phillies in Tampa.
Right, so...
Which just goes to show that Tampa is the worst market.
And one of the things I wanted to bring up about that Phillies-Tampa game in 2008, that was actually a 90-minute rain delay. So you got Game 1 of this World Series in 2020 had worse ratings than a rain delay game from 2008. Now that's pitiful.
With a bigger market in Los Angeles, it just goes to show LA fans aren't that loyal.
Well, I just see the common denominator as Tampa.
I see it as Los Angeles.
Well, I guess that's where we because
diverge. The rest of that Phillies thing wasn't rain delay issues because the rest of the series didn't have low ratings for the Phils.
That's fair.
Let's check game 3 and 4. We'll talk to me then.
All right, but let's just stick on this Dodgers stuff, okay? Because I really think that they're going to win it in 6.
Refocus the argument.
The Dodgers are winning it in 6. My prediction from the beginning, I didn't get to say it on the show because we wouldn't know who the World Series participants were last week. But my prediction was the Dodgers take the first game, Rays take the next 2, and you're going to see the Dodgers win 3 in a row to finish the series off 4-2.
No way. It's going to 7, and it's going to be Kershaw coming out of the bullpen, Game 7, tied, and he gives up a home run. And the Kershaw era closes forever, and Tampa wins it. And Kershaw's known as the worst pitcher and the most overhyped pitcher in all of baseball ever.
Oh, no.
You like that prediction?
Where's Eviction Night when I need him?
Where is Eviction Night?
He's a huge Kershaw fan.
Lays goes, LA thinks they're too good for sports. Yeah, you're right. LA does think they're too good for us and for sports.
That's true. But, you see a lot more fans for the Dodgers across the country and in LA than you do for the Angels. It's tough. They have a split fandom. They're not going to get all the numbers that they want. So I don't know. I think the Dodgers have a tough fan base out here, even in the East Coast. I've seen a lot of people root on the Dodgers. I'm jumping on that bandwagon. I'm excited for them. They're going to finally win a chip. It's been 32 years, Tony. 32 years.
It's going to be 33 after this one. Okay, let's go to Tua. I want to talk about Tua, Jim. Obviously, we've talked... Well, scratch that. We haven't talked about this. I'm reading a quote, and I don't know why I didn't say that. I want to read this quote to you from Ryan Fitzpatrick. It goes like this quote. Obviously, we've talked in the past, me and you guys, about how I'm the placeholder and this eventually is going to happen. It was just a matter of no. I hate when people don't write correctly. It was just a matter of kind of when, not if. It's still just, it broke my heart yesterday. It's a tough thing for me to hear and to now have to deal with it. But I'm going to do my best with it. That's Ryan Fitzpatrick talking about the fact that he's being benched for Tua Tagovailoa. I just want to say this. It is so sad to see what they did to Fitz magic. His ability to keep the Dolphins at 3-3, regardless of who they played, was something of note. Fitz is keeping a team on the right track as it works in a rebuild to stabilize the organization. And look, stability is the formula of success in the NFL. It's what keeps teams like the Steelers, the Packers, and the Chiefs viable as they retool every other year. Packers at 1.2 years ago were like, well, this team stinks. They're out of the playoffs. They're not that good. Now look where they are. They're pretty good, and they're in a very strong contention to win their division. It's really going to come down to the Bears-Packers matchups later in the year. The Steelers, last year, those Steelers stink. They come out with a new wide receiver every other year because they have the stability of the family behind them for the Steelers organization and Ben Roethlisberger at the quarterback position. So why rush Tua onto the field? It's not Tua's time. We know young guys receive less and less time as starters to prove themselves. Sam Darnold has not had adamant time to play. He's had 2 different coaches, and he's out. He's out. They're bringing in Trevor Lawrence. Sam Darnold is out of New York. Happened in 2 quick seasons. You don't get to prove yourself. Josh Rosen, gone for Kyler Murray after 1 year. So why even do this to Tua? Pair it with the fact that we know the longer someone sits, the better they are when they start. Tua's time is in 2021. Shouldn't be right now.
I agree. It shouldn't be right now. But at the same time, you have the Dolphins that are sitting second in their division. They're a half game back from the Bills, right? The Bills are 4-2, Dolphins are 3-3.
Yep. And
the Patriots are 2-3. Now, I don't know what the Patriots are looking like. I do actually have faith that the Patriots will come back because it's just typical Bill Belichick. They didn't have a great start last year, and I don't think that Tom Brady was the reason why they had a bad start or they came back last year. But I do think that the Dolphins have a shot to go to the playoffs. They have a shot to win their division, and I think Fitzpatrick needs to be ready for when Tua gets hurt or when Tua can't play for 3 weeks
and that's the other thing.
Because of one thing.
I'm so scared of the injury, too. He's coming off an injury.
Exactly. So there's Fitzmagic needs to just be Nick Foles right now. He needs to just be ready to play when he gets called for, because this team can make a run. They can do that. The AFC East is not that great.
It's terrible.
It's really bad. All 3 teams are close to each other. I know the Bills look really, really good this year, but guess what? They just played some not so great games, and they're showing that they're beatable. So the Dolphins, if they put it together, they can win a lot of games, and they could win this AFC East. I really do think so.
They could, but it's still rebuild year, and I don't want them to push it too much. That's my whole take on it. Let's go to coaching in basketball. So Penn State, they had to fire their coach, and I don't want to go into the reasons why they fired their coach. I just don't want to talk about it. But I just want to say this about Penn State. They had the best year in basketball in over a decade, I think. And it's unfortunate that we never got to see them play in the tournament because they would have played very well. They handled the Big Ten very well all year long, and they finished 21-10. I never like to see a program that has found its stride, especially one that was historically not a basketball team. It is a football program. And it's sad to see that happen to a team. It's sad to see that happen whenever a college coach has to leave. It's not fun for the guys who committed there. However, silver lining in all this is good for St. Joe's. If Penn State grew to a recruiting powerhouse or a competitive recruiting basketball school in Pennsylvania, we would have been in trouble. Pitt's not a good recruiting school anymore. They used to be good at basketball. They have stunk at basketball. They have not gotten it together. And St. Joe's is lucky because that's an ACC team in your backyard who just can't get their act together. So that plays well for us because we're already competing with Villanova, who's a Big East title-hungry team. And it doesn't make it easy to recruit in Philadelphia when you got Temple, Villanova, and even LaSalle trying to get your guys. Penn State comes into the mix. Big Ten basketball. If Big Ten basketball grows to be big in Pennsylvania, that is not good for St. Joseph's recruiting. We're already lucky that Pitt doesn't get their act together. Maryland is the closest Big Ten school that's a threat to the recruiting area, but we do go down to D.C., we do go down to Maryland, you do compete with Maryland a little bit, but Maryland has a national scope a little bit more. However, They are someone we compete with. We compete with Maryland in the D.C. area. We compete with George Washington, who isn't a bad program either. We compete with Villanova. And we compete now with Penn State. But Penn State's gone. They're not going to recruit that well now. Sigh of relief for St. Joe's fans there. Sigh of relief. Be glad. Because you already had to deal with Seton Hall as the good New York, New Jersey school because Fordham stinks and St. John's is eh. So you had to deal with two Big East teams sandwiching you from the north and the south in Villanova and Seton Hall. You got to take advantage of it. Billy Lang caught a break today, I think.
Agreed.
No one thinks about the recruiting ramifications of these things.
Nobody wants anybody to step down from their job for
right, and that's why I don't like talking about that. However, there was pro St. Joe's
exactly
side to it.
I guess we'll take the benefit of it just because it's going to come our way anyway. So that's just going to have to be the case.
Yep. Final topic for today: Jameer Nelson getting hired as the 76ers coach. I think it's a good thing for Jameer. He needed a little bit of coaching experience. That's why he wasn't picked for the St. Joe's job. He just didn't have the same experience as Billy Lang, right? You got to know how to do the day-to-day ops, right? Jameer Nelson was a great player in his own right, and I don't doubt that. And he'd be a really good asset to have for any school to relate to players, because I am a big believer in coaches being able to relate to guys. However, experience is important. The ability to run a program, the ability to manage scholarship, the ability to figure out how you're going to draw up an offense, the ability to recruit. Those are all things in college basketball, and you need to learn how to do them. And I'm glad that Jameer is going to get the knowledge of how to at least draw an offense, draw up a defense. Look, he's a point guard. Point guards are always the smartest basketball players on the court. He can probably draw up a good offense even without formal help or training. But it's still good to get it, still good to learn, and no one's better to learn from than Doc Rivers. Very few are better than Doc Rivers to learn from.
And just look at his career. I mean, he played 14 years in the NBA. He played on a few teams. I think that he's going to carry that experience into being a coach, and it's going to be very helpful for the G League, especially turning out some guys that might be on the cusp, and the Sixers might really need to dig into the G League to see who they're going to pull off the bench this year. So I think that Jameer is going to be helpful in developing the team, developing the backups for the Sixers, and it's an all around good hire. I think it looks good as far as with the community, how all the fans feel about it. A lot of people have been texting me saying the Sixers love to hire those guys that are local, and I agree. I think that this is a great move for them aesthetically.
Yep. Jim, I think that runs out of time for today. Don't want to run too long because we got an Eagles game to watch.
Let's go, Eagles.
Let's go, Birds. Jim, thanks for being on today's show.
Thanks, Tony.
To all those listening to Tony's Takes on YouTube, thank you for listening to today's show. Really do appreciate it. If you're listening to us, you've never subscribed to us before, you're new to the show, make sure to subscribe to Tony's Takes on YouTube. Double-click the notification bell. That way you get notified every time we go live. Follow the show at Tony's_takes. That way you get live updates about Tony, his takes, and news about the show. And finally, don't forget to send your takes to
the mailbag.
That's right. Send it to the mailbag. That way you get your takes right here on the show.
The mailbag.
And that way you get to have your voice heard outside of just the chat that rolls up in the live stream. This is especially true if you listen to the podcast version of the show. We put this show on Apple Podcasts. If you can't listen to the entire live episode of Tony's Takes, you can most certainly listen to it on Apple Podcasts. And if you're one of the people who go, why does Tony always read out these names during the show? It's because some people take the time to listen to us live, and they get the benefit of writing their takes in the chat live, and I read it to them. But if you can't do that, make sure to mail the mailbag, tonystakes.1851@gmail.com. I guarantee it. Certified Tony guarantee. If you mail the mailbag, you get your takes read on the show. So make sure to go and do that. Make sure to subscribe us to YouTube. Make sure to follow us at Tony's Takes on Twitter at Tonys_takes. Make sure to watch the Eagles tonight. It's going to be a good game. Jim, fly, Eagles, fly. Am I right?
Fly, Eagles, fly.
Thanks for listening to Tony's Takes. Really do appreciate it. And we look forward to seeing everyone right here, 7 o'clock next week on YouTube every Thursday. You've been listening to Tony's Takes.
The premier sports talk radio, it's Tony's Takes.
Here we go.
Sky.